What's going on? Welcome back to the Magic Library, guys. Today we're going to be going over Grand Archive World's Path of Silver. In this video, we're going to be breaking it down into what is Path of Silver, the scoring breakdown, what are the rewards, why you should participate, and then some tools and testimonials that help you hopefully understand why it's so worth it. All right, so getting right into it, if you want to check out the Ascent World's Path of Silver page, you can do so on Grand Archive TCG articles, but let's just get right into it. So the first thing, what is Path of Silver? So Path of Silver is a competitive event. And I say it's a competitive event because there is a competition aspect, but I also want to urge to most people that it is something that anyone can participate in, right? It's important to remember that even though things are competitions, there are rewards and benefits to participating regardless. So Path of Silver is a 50-card submission where you will submit cards based on their Thema scores and using set bonuses for overall Thema score bonuses. The bonuses are revealed the day of the competition, so there's only so much you can do to actually prepare for this, aside from really trying to obtain versions of every card, foils, CSRs, B variants, and CURs alike. So if we head over to the index here, we can look up any card. I've chosen to look up Purse because she's one of my favorites. But if you look at the right here, you'll see underneath, it says Alchemical Revolution. If you go down to where it says Thema, we'll see the 5 themas that are made up. So we have Grace, Valor, Charm, Mystique, and Ferocity. Now, each card has a score for each of the categories, and then a total score, which is the combined value of all of these. For Path of Silver specifically, at Worlds, we're going to only be using Valor, Mystique, and Ferocity for the specific Thema categories. However, overall score is still relevant in this case. If we take a look at the normal versus the foil, we're going to see that there's a big jump in score. So a regular Purse Relentless Raptor has a total score of 233, whereas the foil has a score of 1246. Now, this is relevant because when you're trying to obtain a higher overall submission, whether you're aiming for top 8 in your Thema or top 8 in your overall, you're going to need a higher score to get that. Now, this will be relevant later, so we'll talk about it more. But another thing worth mentioning is that if this card has a collector super rare version or a collector ultra rare version, they have an even higher score value, right? So as you can see here, Purse Relentless Raptor as the event pack CSR has a total score value of 1600. There are a couple other things involving cards that are worth mentioning. So let's look up Diana. We'll go to Diana level 2, which is Diana Deadly Duelist. So Diana has multiple versions. So we're going to have the normal version, the foil version. We're also going to have the CSR version. Now, the reason I chose Diana specifically is because she has a B variant. Now, if you take a look at the numbers here, Ferocity is 395, Grace is 395, and our Valor is 383. If you go to the B variant of this card, it's very likely that these numbers are going to be different. So Ferocity was the same, but Grace and Valor slightly changed. The overall total score between the CSRs are going to be a little different here as well. We see 1860 here for the A variant, and we're going to see 1897 for the B variant. Now, this is likely due to the fact that the population of the B variant is lower, the B variant having 72 available versus the A variant having, I believe, 108. Another thing worth mentioning is that there are multiple prints of certain cards. So if we look at cards like Warrior's Longsword, Warrior's Longsword is a card that's printed in 1st edition Dawn of Ashes, Alter Edition, as well as it's a Fractured Crown Armament. So the quick answer to this is that 1st edition cards are worth slightly more than Alter Edition cards, and 1st edition foils are worth exactly the same total score as a Fractured Crown Armament. However, their distribution of Thema is different. So the 1st edition foil for Warrior's Longsword has 216 for Ferocity, 232 for Grace, 200 for Valor. When we go to the Fractured Crown Armaments, we're going to see a different distribution of numbers there. As you can see, Valor went down to 170, Ferocity went down to 140, but the total score still remains the same. Now, this is relevant because when you're attempting to push for a specific Thema, you may need to use a certain variant of a card. So looking at the spreadsheet, we have the Ascent Houston Path of Silver set bonuses. Now, these set bonuses, like I said, sometimes require to use a specific version of a card. If you look at the Arthurian Might here, if you have all 6 of these cards in any of the acceptable editions, so Arthur, Young Heir, Flame Sweep, Honed by Fire, Fiery Momentum, and Excalibur Cleansing Light could have been 1st edition or Alter Edition, and Rending Flames had to be not an SP1 version. You're going to gain all of these extra points. So you're going to gain a total of 7.6 or 7.6, 9.7 thousand points towards your total overall submission, And you're also going to be gaining these specific values for your Thema scores. So when we look at the Ascent Houston Path of Silver set bonuses, I believe there were 14 for Legends. There were 60 for things around Cambria. And there were, I think, 16 or 20 champion ones. So the reason these are so relevant is because on top of the set bonus, you're also going to be getting the value of the Thema score for each of the individual cards. So if you submit Lorraine Wandering Warrior, Lorraine Blade Master, Crux Knight, and Spirit Ruler, you're going to get all of the points for these 4 cards, and you're also going to get these totals up here at the top. So taking a look at the Ascent World's Path of Silver prizing. So we have a 200 participant limit, which from my experience talking to people about Houston, their participant limit didn't even come close to maxing out. So this is something that I would suggest a lot of people try to get into. So day one, like I said, the set bonuses are going to be revealed and the form submissions are going to be available. Now that's going to be done through Omnidex. So you'll be submitting your entire list of cards that you want to submit through Omnidex. And then on day 2, there's going to be a collection verification. Now specifically for this event, the collection verification process is not, you don't have to do it yourself. You can actually ask a friend to do it for you if you're unable to make it because you're busy or there's an emergency or something like that. So don't worry too much about that. You have more flexibility and availability to participate in Path of Silver this time around. Plus, since it's going to be on Omnidex, it's actually a lot easier to submit. Before, you had to manually write out everything, including all of your set bonuses, all your total scores, and then calculate it out and hope it's correct. There will be some testimonials later on in other videos that kind of explain this in more detail. So hopefully you get the chance to watch those, but let's continue talking about the prizing. If you're someone who's going for top 8, that means you're going to be competing for Priscilla Lost Spirit CPR prize card. Now this is, I'll be honest, this is extremely difficult to attempt to compete for. For this, you're going to want pretty much every CSR, pretty much every CUR, and a good attempt at having almost all of the foils. Active Thema categories for this event, like I said, will be Mystique, Ferocity, and Valor. Charm and Grace do not have prizing at this event specifically. So first place, you'll be getting a Priscilla Lost Spirit, and it'll be stamped for first place. You'll be getting 6 DOA first edition booster boxes and 6 ALC first edition booster boxes. For second place, you'll be getting half of those in terms of the booster box count, and then stamp second, obviously. And if you rank 3rd to 8th, you'll be getting your stamp according to what rank you got, as well as 1 first edition booster box and 1 ALC booster box. For top 8 specifically, you'll be getting a CPR Ascent Worlds 2024 promo with the Mystique, Ferocity, or Valor stamp. And that looks like this down here. So these are going to be the Into the Fray colored stamp cards. They're stamped with Ascent. It says what the Thema is and has the beautiful colored signature there. Now, this is the most interesting part of the rewards breakdown, and this is the part on why I think everyone should participate. There are overall score thresholds where you'll get rewards. So if your overall score threshold is over 40,000, you'll be getting an Ascent Worlds 2024 non-foil Path of Silver promo, which is the Into the Fray. If you get over 70,000 points, you'll be getting a foil version of that promo. If you get over 100,000 points, you'll be getting a playmat of that same art. Now, each of these are cumulative rewards. So if you get 100K, you'll be getting a non-foil, a foil, and the playmat. And a lot of people are going to look at me and be like, oh my God, 100K is so, like, that's so hard. Like, how am I ever going to get to this score? It's really not hard. It's really not hard. In the testimonies, you'll see it's actually way easier than people are kind of worried about. A good friend of mine managed to get it with 20 foils and 30 non-foils. So I think that reaching 100,000 points as an overall score is very, very obtainable and worth the participation. Even if you can't make it there, even if you only get to 70, the rewards are still fantastic. We'll talk about the pricing for them and why they're so good in another video, but overall, this is something that I urge everyone to try and participate in if you have the time. Now, there's one last thing I want to talk about that might help you a lot with your submission to Path of Silver should you choose to participate in it. We have a couple tools that are really, really helpful. So we have the spreadsheets for the old set bonuses if you want an understanding of how it works. I've created a video with my good friend Noel from Chess Club, which I'll be posting shortly after this video goes live, where we talk about his submission, how he got to 100,000 points, how he did it while playing in Path of Silver and Path of Steel, and really talking about the accessibility of Path of Silver and why it's worth doing. On top of that, My good friend Rav here has Gabrary, which is talking about the set spoilers. But if you look here, he actually made a calculator for silver. So if you go to the sheet, go to the calculator, this is actually a very, very good way to kind of figure out what cards you have available to you now, even without the set bonuses being available. You can go in, you can look at the values of each card, and you can kind of figure out whether or not this is something that you want to give a try to. So hopefully this information was fantastic for you guys. I really, really do urge you to participate in Path of Silver. Path of Silver, while it is a competition for those who have really, really grandiose collections, it's also really, really simple and valuable to participate as someone who is a player who may have a couple foils here and there, because at the end of the day, it's really about interacting with people, being able to trade and talk about the game and talk about how to, improve in Path of Silver as well as improve in your Path of Steel times. So I guess what I'm trying to say is don't throw away Path of Silver and be like, oh, this isn't for me, I'm not really a collector. There's a lot of value in it without necessarily needing to be a really high-end collector.